Hello, good evening, everyone. Today we are in another episode of In Conversation with Bright Minds, and we have with us Priyanka Jain. She's currently a machine learning engineer at Tiger Analytics. And one thing that caught my eye while I was kind of scrolling through her profile is the beautiful line that she had written that ever since she knew the magic of maths, she always knew she wanted to be a data scientist. So welcome to the show, Priyanka. And I hope many more people have so much interest in maths as you have, because it's such a beautiful subject actually. so
Yes.
so Priyanka, to begin with, tell us something about how your education had been and where you did your bachelor's from.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, a little background about myself. So I did my engineering in the field of automation and robotics. So which is which was very fancy back then, but I really, was interested in robotics. So I think in the final year, not in final year, I think in the third year of my engineering. So that's when I was introduced to machine learning. So, I didn't know anything about it, but yeah, I thought, it sounded interesting, like, in fact, magical, like how things are working. So I thought, why not just work on it? So to start off, I just built a basic classification model, took some snippets from the internet, and I just wanted to run the code. So yeah, I did that, and then I integrated that with hardware, and that's when everything turned magical. I mean, I could take inputs from the camera, and yeah, the hardware was able to segregate the apples and oranges, the classification, and it was like, wow. So that's when my interest started developing, and I thought like there are a lot of possibilities of using ML. So that's when I started slowly getting deep into how it's working. Like the black box, I started slowly learning about it. So yeah, that's how I was introduced to ML, machine learning. So yeah, that's about my background.
I think back in 2015 when you started, not much awareness was there around machine learning. I mean, as far as I am concerned, at least till the point I got a job as a data scientist, I was not aware of this term also. And when IBM came into my campus, they had two
Mhm.
profiles. One was a data scientist and one was into sales. And I was like, I can go into any profile, but not data science because I've never heard of it, and God knows what it is all about. So
Y-
later, I scrolled around and I found out that outside India, at least, many openings were there, and that is when I realized that this is growing.
Yeah, I think initially it looks very scary. I mean, it was scary to me, but I think we all should never be afraid of experimenting. Initially, I was scared, but then I thought it's learning, right? It's new. So when I was in my third year, it was like 2018. So I think it wasn't, it was at peak, but not at the complete peak. So I thought like, I think we should never be afraid of experimenting. And that's when I realized that, what if this turns out something that's of my interest? Because I was interested in building robots or automating stuff, but this was like completely I don't even have words. So I think it's all about, initially it will feel overwhelming for anyone who wants to go into, I think, but everyone can get into machine learning as long as they have curiosity, and as long as they can find patterns in the data, as long as they can it just, I think, more requires it domain knowledge rather than techniques, because techniques you eventually learn, and there are like lot of techniques coming every
Right.
day. But what keeps you to the field is the domain knowledge and what goes behind any of the techniques that's being used. So I think that's important rather than feeling overwhelmed about anything as such.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think, that brings me to my next question. So, as you mentioned, that domain knowledge is important, but machine learning is ever evolving. So how does one keep himself or herself to whatever latest updates are coming in machine learning? What's the best way that you cope up with all these latest updates?
Okay. So I think first thing is community. That's where you get a lot of information. So maybe on LinkedIn, right? There are a lot of machine learning enthusiasts who are posting about new techniques, new things coming up, new things they're building. So I think that's one great way to, learn more about the techniques. Second thing is, of course, you have to be connected. I mean, having a good network of people. Only then you'll be able to understand. I mean, network as in the same domain. So that's when you can get more knowledge about what's happening, what's not happening. And I think Reddit is a good source where you can get more information about the machine learning, to be specific.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how I myself keep myself updated on the
Okay.
trends.
Okay.
And I think one more thing is when you're working on a particular thing, right? So you wouldn't know what's the latest thing happening. And then when you Google search, of course, you'll find a lot of things. And that's the another way. So as long as you're into the field, only then you'll be able to take the things up. It's not possible for everyone to know everything about ML because it's growing immensely. But I think that's how you can keep yourself posted.
Right. So, when it comes to your role in your organization,
Hmm.
how would you define a regular day? Like, how does it start? What all things do you do on daily basis?
Okay. So I'm working as ML Ops engineer currently. So it's a combination of machine learning plus DevOps. So to be so currently mostly working on the research side and I'm learning a lot. So initially what I thought was like I think my professional journey. So I thought machine learning is all about building models. That's all. But I realized that it's not just about deployment. It's just a part. I mean, sorry, building. It's just a part. But there is a lot of post production that you have to do, as in deploying. How will you deploy? How will you monitor? Ethics. I think ethics is one of the most important thing that you have to consider while you're building, developing any model.
Okay.
And if you're working in any insurance or medical domain, and I think this is the most important thing as a developers we should consider because nowadays people want a lot of transparency on what they are given. So suppose if you're working for an insurance domain, uh, you'd give, I mean, suppose you're giving a loan to XYZ person. So until and unless there could be a lot of discrimination because of data, say, because of the data, historical data, say, females would have been given lesser loans than the male. So I think the trends have changed now. So there could be, because of the data, there's no transparency that's being shown. So there should be a lot of uh, ethics that should be considered while developing a model.
Hmm.
So yeah, things are evolving, and I think okay, I mean, coming back to your question, like how is my day to day at work? So it's mostly about learning, researching what's happening, what's new. How can I, help the clients to uh, make things better? So yeah, it's mostly on the research side
Got
for
it.
me.
Got it. So what do you do to kind of maintain work-life balance? Because sometimes, this profile is very overwhelming. So how do you ensure that you balance out in between?
Okay. So I think it depends on uh you. So work-life balance would be first of all organizing things that you're working on. So of course you have limited time to work, and if you organize it better, you'd of course, I mean, there'll be a lot of I mean, what do I say? Like your work will be in track, right? So if you have it planned, then you're going according to the plan. So if it's scattered, right, so you do not know what to do, what not to do.
Hmm.
So you have to first of all prioritize your work, what's important and what's not important. So I think that helps. And secondly is learn to say no. That is, if
True.
you're already burdened with lot of work, learn to say no. And of course, at times, I think freshers or people with less experience would feel very hesitant of saying no. But I don't think that's right, because at the end, you're also human, and everyone, I think they should follow from their starting of the career, like how to maintain a work-life balance. So I
Hmm.
think we also need to learn to say no for the things if you're already burdened up. So I think these things help me a lot on maintaining my work-life balance.
True. I think that is something which very less, and especially I think Indians would not follow this thing of saying no. And I've seen quite a lot of times, even when it is the festive season, or even if there is something going on, still people would keep working till very late nights because they don't know how to say no. They would always be thinking that, if I say no, it's going to put a wrong impression altogether, and maybe it spoils their image in the corporate sector. But I think it is important.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I was one of them prior, but I think I've started learning from my experiences that if it's too much, I should say no if it's too much. And yeah, I think we all should. I think it starts from us, right?
Hmm.
So whatever you do, your peers will learn it. I mean, your juniors will learn from you. So if you're building that culture, so eventually you're also doing that to your juniors. So I think
Exactly.
that's what I think Tiger believes in. That's what they say, that if you are the one who brings the change, and I think we all follow that.
Hmm. Got it. Right.
Yeah.
So very recently, this, in fact, a lot of forums are talking about this, and a lot of workshops are taking place about women in data science. This has become the new trend, right? I mean,
Hmm.
women were always there in everything, but very recently they have kind of started emphasizing that we should have women in data science. So how do you feel about it? Do you think that there is already an equality, or do you think that for example, I was very recently, reading this article in newspaper which said that still in IITs we have very, very less girls who go ahead and take admission. So, why do you think? I mean, is this happening, and how can we encourage women to come ahead and take these roles?
Okay. So I think that there is equality, but still I think there's some lag. So could be because of I don't know, because of n number of reasons, but currently I think at least from past few years I see that women are growing exponentially compared to men. So we do. I mean, I am very much inspired from. I mean, people, colleagues at Tiger. So so we have lot of women 30 under 30
Okay.
in data science. Yeah. So I think they keep inspiring, and I think it's not male or female. I think it's just individual who has to work and show their potential.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't think that there's a lot of inequality, but yeah, I do not have a strong opinion on that.
Right. So, back when we had campus placement, I think out of 11, they had selected nine girls and two boys. I mean, it might have been just a random thing that, we ended up giving better interviews. But yes, that was the fact. So I still think that, I mean, women should always be encouraged to join this profession. This is an excellent profession to be in. And do you think that, so one thing that I see a lot is, especially to students where I go ahead and give guest lectures, they kind of are curious that if they're coming from a background which did not involve maths, maybe from an English honors background or a Paul science background, would they be able to go ahead and do an MBA in data science? Would it make sense? Would they be able to cope up? So, do you think that it matters what you did in graduation, or anybody can go ahead and cope up in this domain?
Yeah. I think, as I said, anybody can come into this domain as long as you know some basics about it, and domain knowledge, which is very important, and having that as a strong point. Learning techniques is, as long as they have interest, learning techniques is comparatively easy, I would say.
Hmm.
So if they do some study on, I mean, take course on basics of Python, basics of maths and statistics, I think they would be good to go, at least uh, as a starters,
Hmm.
because I think domain knowledge is something that carries a lot of weightage. Because at the end you have everything, but if you're not able to understand, doesn't make sense, right?
Hmm.
So techniques, I think you can learn, but domain knowledge, experience is something that's from your experience, like domain. I think that carries a lot of weightage as well,
Right.
because I think machine learning is a collaborative. I mean, you work in a team. You cannot work as an individual. So if you build model, you need a lot of help from the domain expertise, from the data
Hmm.
engineer, data science team, everyone. So it's just not one person, but we're working as a team.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So thoroughly understanding the field becomes important. I mean, I see a lot of people who kind of just copy paste the code and run it through and tell that this is the percent error. But unless you don't understand what happens in the background, things will not make a lot of sense, right?
exactly.
Yes.
Explainability becomes more important even after building a model.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the lot of stuff, as I told, right, after after deploying a model. So
Exactly.
I think those are more important, and I think where they, that's where domain expertise would
Hmm.
be of huge importance.
Got it. So one last thing that I want to understand is, so for people who have just done their bachelor's, maybe from your college or other college, who are just graduating, any tips that you have for them? How should they go ahead and enter the industry? Anything they should keep in mind, before they put their foot in the industry and they start their career?
Okay. So yeah, even me coming from tier 2 college, I faced that. But I think no one can stop you as long as you have that passion, right? So
Hmm.
first thing first is know basics about what you want to learn. If you're interested in machine learning, do some research about it. And second thing is do a lot of projects.
Hmm.
There are a lot of projects on Kaggle, on internet, so where you can start exploring, and don't be afraid of experimenting. Of course, there's a lot of fear before you start anything, but I think you should come past that fear. So I think doing a lot of project will help you rather than just watching videos, because while you're experimenting something, you'll face a lot of, I mean, you'll do a lot of mistakes, right? So that's when you learn, and why did this happen, that happen, and then you'll start learning more about it. So I
Hmm.
think doing a lot of projects help, and this is something that I did. And I think the most important thing is finding a mentor.
Hmm.
Maybe that could be a friend. Take help from the online community. I think there are a lot of people who would help you with that. So they would, since it's a vast subject, you'll be totally lost. So it's better to have experience guiding you on how you can get started, what to do, what not to do. And I would rather suggest go to the width. I mean, learn lot of things, but then slowly move into the depth.
Hmm.
Because once you go into the depth, it's like a black hole. You'll not come out of it. You'll always go dig into it. But if you know the width, you'll know its applications, and as and when needed, maybe you can deep dive into what's required, and maybe do internships during your graduation, maybe third, fourth years. So that will give you a lot of industry exposure, what's happening, and then you'll be more prepared on what's the industry, what's happening in the industry, what they require, and like you'll have a real world experience. So yeah, that could be also best thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, so these are the tips I would give to any
Yeah.
freshers.
I think you rightly said the hands-on experience is so important that just looking at things will not make sense. And I think
Yes.
if we would have had, I mean, during our college time, if we had more mentors where we could talk and we could show them, it would have been better. I mean, of course, we learned on the job, but always learning beforehand would have helped us to achieve better things during that time.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone's knew that even they would have had their face, so they would also have
Exactly.
faced similar things. So it's better to learn from experiences and make new mistakes.
Hmm.
So
And
yeah,
I think so, mentor is something which you can have at any point in life, right? Even when you grow as in when in your career, I think so, mentors, you can always have someone on top of you to guide you. And I mean, even if you become maybe vice president, someone can go ahead and mentor you and tell you where you're going wrong and where you're going right. So mentorship is very, very important throughout the course of your career.
right. Truly.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Priyanka. I think so. This was a great and insightful session, and the juniors and the people who are just entering the industry will really find this helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.